So welcome to Wincanton History Society and the very first memories and reflections on Wincanton. And here we are with Freda and Freda Mills.
Do you know, I used to belong to the History Society. I used to go down. They used to have it once a month on a Friday night.
Really?
One time in the Memorial Hall.
Yeah. Well, I think.
And I used to go down to it.
We're going to
They
have to
used
get
to
you
have
back.
it at the Balsam Centre once.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's where it is now every month.
Is it?
Yeah. Wednesday night.
I used to go, you see, once. I don't turn out now not to drive down myself.
No, but we'll send a car and get you.
Yeah, I used to love the history and that. I think they started off in the Catholic St. Luke's.
You're absolutely
place.
right, they did.
Used to go there
Yes,
to
'cause they
start
had
with.
a big meeting place there.
Yeah.
Well, it's been going now, I think, since 1986, and, it's going strong.
Yeah.
We're just about to have Marcus Giles, the vet.
Oh, yeah, I know him.
And then we're having a very sort of bigger talk, which we're doing in the Memorial Centre, John Bashford Snell, which is about Mr. Livingston in Africa, as a guy who walked across Africa, and somebody said, Mr. Livingston, I presume, So that's quite a big talk. Marcus Giles, of course, his daughter Lucy, has done very well in the army. Anyway, but we're here to talk about you. And I noticed that you are born on the same day as my sister, which is quite funny, the 5th of May. But
31?
A slightly different date.
Ah.
But yeah, so you were born on the 5th of May, 1931.
Yeah.
That is quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
But you are absolutely...
In this little cottage, look.
Oh, gosh.
Penselwood.
And in Penselwood.
Yeah, that's a listed house.
That's lovely.
But they've modernised it now, the inside, but they're not allowed to touch the outside.
I think I've driven past that.
Up Penselwood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
where I was born.
Really?
Mm.
Actually in the cottage?
Yeah, in that cottage.
Gosh. Well, that's fantastic. And tell me about your mum and dad.
Yeah, Mum, she was born in Chawton Musgrove. Her mother was a Chawton Musgrove person. And my dad also was a Chawton Musgrove person.
Oh.
And he was born in Chawton Musgrove.
Right.
But the thing was, there's 10 years difference in them. And they never met until a year before they got married. And that was, they met in Wincanton, up top of Bayford Hill.
Ah.
By accident,
Really was. They just
and
bumped
they never
into
knew
you.
one another before.
Right.
Well, my grandmother was with Mum, and she knew me dad.
Right.
And they used to walk to town and back then from Chawton Musgrove.
Really?
Yeah, she used to walk across the fields and come out by the lodge, down bottom of Bayford.
Yeah.
By the big house down there.
Yeah.
Used to cut across the fields, and they were coming. I think they were walking back down, and Dad was walking back up with his bike. And Mum said, Gran just spoke, hello, Sam, and that. And he was going back to work. And then he said, who's this? And she said, oh, that's my daughter Ethel, and that. And they got talking, and my mum was then in service. She was a cook in the dogs.
Oh, right, yeah.
Dad was a gardener in the next garden over the wall, and I think it belonged to Rutter's. It's where the cinema was.
Yes.
And I think it belonged to Rutter's because the cinema wasn't there then.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
And he said, oh, I might see you then. So I don't know how they corresponded from there, but they sort of got friendly that way and got to know one another. And
had they moved? So they moved to Penselwood at some point.
Well, they got to know one another. He'd lost his mother. She lived out Bayford in, Bramley House, on the right hand side, the last house. There's a white house.
Oh,
sort of
yes.
On the,
Yes.
I think it's Bramley House.
Right.
And that, and because there's some more houses up in the garden.
Right.
But that was a couple of cottages. It's only one house now. and that. And my dad lived there, and he'd lost his mother. She died a year ago before, you know.
Right.
They got Pelly and that, and Mum, she was living in the dogs, you see, but she used to go, well, to Brickhouse Farm then, because Granny lived at Brickhouse Farm. If you read that book that I wrote,
Yeah.
you'll get some idea about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
yes, they lived at Brickhouse Farm because Grandad worked on the farm, a bailiff he was for Billy Bandon at Chalton Musgrove. He was a gentleman farmer and that, and he owned Brickhouse Farm.
Oh, right.
And, well, Grandad went there to live. They had 16 children.
Wow.
Mum was the eldest of the lot.
16.
And she had to help bring up the other kids. She never had much of a childhood because when she come home from school, she used to help her mother make shirts. Her mother used to by hand, didn't have a sewing machine.
Right.
Used to make little shirts and that for them. And
so her mother had the 16 children.
My grandmother had 16.
Right. 16.
Yeah. And Grandad was always drinking on cider. He used to make his own cider.
I think he needed to.
He used to have the locals down of a Sunday afternoon for a drink. They used to go out in the old barn at her old stables out there and drink, Mum said, in the afternoon, you know. I don't think Gran had much of a life with him.
No.
It was easier when he was elderly, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
and then they moved up to Penselwood because Brickhouse Farm comes under Chalton Musgrove. But the kids, Mum and her brothers, all went to Penselwood School. And the people that come in there afterwards, they went to Penselwood School.
Right.
But I think you'll find it comes under Chalton Musgrove.
Okay.
But they used to cut through the woods.
But I'm still thinking 16 is a lot.
It is. Yeah, she
and
lost four.
She
right.
Lost
four
of
them.
That.
Yeah.
Goodness me.
She had one sister and the rest was brothers.
Right, okay. Gosh. So, okay, just moving on now. So, did you go to Penselwood School?
Yeah.
You did?
Till I was 14.
Really?
And I left school at Penselwood.
Right.
But Miss Natman down in Bayford Hill, I don't know if you knew her, she used to be the teacher when I left.
Right.
And the last year or so at school, she got me to come to Wincanton one day a week. I used to cycle in and used to have cookery lessons. On the corner.
Yeah, there's
well, that's right. The vet's there was a different vet in those days, and upstairs you could go some outside stairs to go up, and there were some rooms up there where we had our kitchen, and the kids one day a week, Thursdays I think it was, they used to go up there for cookery lessons.
Gosh.
And I used to cycle in, and that to learn cooking. I was
You'd
glad I did.
From
Penselwood,
right?
Just for the day.
Oh gosh, okay. Yeah. So when you were at school, did you like it? Did you like school?
Oh, I loved school.
Did you?
Yeah, I loved school.
Because
I wasn't so keen. Well, I liked the infants class.
Yeah.
But when we had Miss Haskell, she was very strict. We were a bit nervous of her, but me friends and that. All the kids, I got on well with all the kids, and the lessons never worried me.
Right.
I used to get stuck with percentages, sums. Yeah. I couldn't sort of grasp a percentage.
Right.
And there was a friend of mine, her parents kept the village shop, and she was that much brighter than me, and I asked her about it, and she explained, and I could grasp it better from her than I could from the teacher, because Miss Haskell, she was really for brighter type of kids.
Yeah, okay.
You know? And once I grasped it, I used to love percentage sums. Don't think I could do them now.
Right. It was sort of a mix of algebra and mental arithmetic. And...
I used to like bills and things like that when you had to.
Yeah, so you had to work out
bills.
Yeah. Got you.
And fractions and that.
And was there how many kids were in the school? I mean, say in the senior school then?
Well, The 2 classrooms, there's still a school up there. It's not a school now, it's a village hall.
Right.
The 2 rooms is knocked into one.
Yeah.
Well, when I went to start with, I expect there would be roughly about 20 to 30 kids. And then the evacuees came during the war.
Yes. Well, I'm going to talk to you about that.
Southampton and London evacuees, so that made more.
Yes.
Then after the war, they went back. I think it was about 16 children left, something like that. It wasn't enough to keep the school going, so they closed it.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then they had to get teachers, you see. They came and had to either lodge in the village.
And then presumably kids got bussed into Wincanton.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Gosh.
Well, they went to Borton to start with.
Right, okay.
Because King Arthur's wasn't built.
No. I mean, I realise that.
Yeah, so they went to Borton and then they went to Gillingham.
Oh, right.
From Borton on to Gillingham.
Okay, fair
But
enough.
they go to Wincanton now, up King Arthur's.
But what I'm really interested in finding out about is that you were at school 13, 14, right? And you were about to leave.
Left on my birthday.
Right, okay. You left on your birthday.
Started work the next day, or a couple of days after the
Where
next
was the
week.
work?
I worked in the big house belonging to that lodge. You went down a long drive to Forest Lodge, the big house where Leslie Rutter lived.
In Penselwood?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And I worked there in service.
Oh, okay.
And there was another girl there working, an older person to me.
Right.
Mary, she was a few years older.
Okay.
And I worked there, but I only stayed there a year because although I was only a kid, I was sort of a venturous type of kid.
Yeah, you wanted to get out. And
I went on holiday to Bournemouth to an aunt of mine, and I decided I was going to get a job down there.
Oh, right.
So I knew another person in Penselwood, and she knew of an agency in Bournemouth because her sister was working down there. I got in touch with this agency and found a job at near Sandbanks, Lilliput House.
But how old were you?
14. Oh, you were 15 then.
And you could do that then? I mean, there wasn't a restriction, sort of...
No, well, my dad had died. My dad died when I was only 12, when we was living in that house.
Really?
And then we had to move from that house because they wanted it for a gardener.
Because it was it was a lodge, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
And we had to move then. And it was the best thing that ever happened moving, because we went into a council house and we had a flush toilet and a sink and running water, whereas in that little lodge, it was a bucket toilet.
Gosh.
And you had to go out of doors and the tap was outside, out round the back.
Really?
Where you had, and it used to get froze up in the winter.
Gosh.
Mum used to have to go down to the farm to get some water. That was just down the lane next to it. I don't know if you've been up round there, know it.
Yeah. But
it was empty the other day. I'd have took you up round and showed you, and you could have a look around. Well, it might be still empty because they were doing it.
Well, that might be a lovely thing. What I want to do is stop you and just pause, because I think from my point of view, what I find fascinating is here you were, say, let's just try and work this out. If you go back to being 9 years old, 10 years old, the war came along.
Yeah.
And what I'm interested in is what you thought of that, and whether you... what were your impressions at the time? Were you thinking, oh, I don't know what this is all about, or it's quite good fun, or it's a bit of a drama, or... I mean...
No, you accept it, because Dad used to read things out the paper and tell us a lot, and then he bought a radio because we didn't have a radio, and we only used to have a gramophone in those days. Used to play on a Sunday, but he bought a radio because he liked to hear the news and everything, and because he was in the First War.
Right, got
he
it.
was invalided out.
Yeah,
he was gassed and he had his knuckle shot out. God. So he's invalided out, and his brother was killed in the First War.
Really?
Oh, Dad was very interested in person. Any rate,
but he died when you were
only 12.
Right.
And I had a brother.
So that he died during the war.
Yeah, the end of the war. just at the end of the war.
Oh, right, just at the end.
Yeah.
So you were getting information about what was going on with the war from the radio broadcasts.
Yeah.
And presumably if somebody brought a newspaper...
Oh, Mum used to scan the newspapers through. She was interested in anything, the papers.
Right.
Yeah. She'd read a paper instead of doing the housework. Get all behind her.
Really?
I used to get wild about that.
But what about, I mean, I want to keep on the war. I'm just looking at it in terms of history, that were you able to go to the cinema at that point or not? Or were you not going? Cinema in Wincanton.
Well, you didn't go then because you had to cycle in, and you didn't go not when you was a kid.
Yeah,
I went.
No.
Me dad, the first film we seen where the flies crawled up the window, he brought us in. It was when the cinema was first open, when it was first built. I can remember, but I don't know what year. I remember him saying about the cinema was built,
I think it was 33, 34, I think, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I wasn't very old, but I remember him saying, and he brought us in, and the film was The Flies Crawled Up the Window, because I remember seeing this big window up on the screen and all the flies going up, And,
Oh!
And then never went again for... only just the odd time sort of thing, because you had to cycle in and didn't go then.
Of course, because it was night.
Yeah, but then when we went down the council house, that was the other side of the village, and then the aerodrome was up Zeals.
Right.
There was the aerodrome up there, and of course the airmen and the Yanks and the different ones was stationed up there, and then there was an army billets up at Bull Pits, that was up that way.
Right.
And of course they used to have Enser shows or Enser shows?
Yes, Enser, yeah.
Enser shows and films up there, you see.
Oh, what, up in where they were?
Yeah, and on the camp there was a big place.
Yeah.
And of course a lot of the civilians from Zeals and that used to go. And there used to be my aunt. Her husband didn't mind. He'd let her out at night with us girls. And there used to be quite a few of us. About half a dozen of us used to go up of a Sunday night.
Right.
And that to these Enser shows. And
brilliant.
Or to a film.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'd go up in the week. And it was only sixpence to go in.
Yeah.
And that. And
so that was a great bit of entertainment for you.
Yeah. Well, it was more life going on in Penselwood during the war than there were afterwards, because they used to have the vicar. He had teenage children, a son and two daughters, and he used to put on a dance up in the village hall. It was an old army hut.
Right.
And he used to put on a dance up there. It used to be only with records and things. And used to be things going on up in the village hall. And I used to go up. My mum used to let me go with my sister. I was only 12. And she was 4 years older than me.
Right.
So she wasn't on her own. So I used to go up with her to the dances.
That was all right then.
Yeah, and then at Borton Factory they used to have dances down there, and I used in the packing hall, and I used to go down there with my old aunt. Well, I call my old aunt, but she was only in her 20s. I used to go. She used to go as well.
Right.
And we used to go to these dances or to a film or anything. Oh, it was life when the war was going on.
Yeah, no,
we didn't know anything about the war, really.
Yes.
I mean, we were rationed, but we had plenty enough, because actually Mum never used to use all, because there were 5 of us children.
Yeah.
And
you had 4 brothers, did you? Or was it 3?
3 brothers and 1 sister.
Right, okay.
And then there's Mum and Dad. Well, that was 7 of us all together.
Yeah.
She had 7 ration books. Well, she didn't use everything out of those ration books.
Yeah.
The only thing she was a bit short on was sugar, because my dad used to like plenty of sugar in his tea and that.
Right.
But, or butter. You used to have to skim with the butter and margarine. And
okay.
we used to cut it out 4 ounces of margarine and 2 ounces of butter. And we used to cut it out because we used to squabble if over the butter if they were all gone in that. And my sister, she wouldn't eat margarine, she wouldn't have butter.
Oh, right.
Of course, we used to have it cut out because she used to have more butter than what we did.
Oh, right, got it. So she got
Mum used to have it all cut out, and we used to have it all around the table, our little containers with butter and margarine.
Oh, funny. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
So
and a jar with our sugar, half a pound of sugar, I think it was.
It becomes normal in the end, that sort of world.
Oh, yeah. Actually, all through the war, there was 1 or 2 bombs dropped up near Penselwood at the top of Saltern's Hill in the field, but that was because they were being chased.
The planes?
The planes,
Oh, right.
And
because there must have been a lot of RAF and American planes, weren't there?
yeah, and the top of, where Hunter's Lodge is?
Yeah.
Up the top there on the right-hand side, back sort of, if you were going round to Stoke Trister.
Yeah.
There was a searchlight. If the planes got caught in the searchlight, it was job. So they were driving, the planes was going back, and they were, to get away quicker, they were dropping their bombs just anywhere.
Oh, I see.
Because there was a couple dropped at the top of Saltern's Hill, and there was one drop, and we thought they dropped it because there's a reservoir up there.
Yeah.
Thought they dropped it to destroy the reservoir, but they don't think they did. They think it was because they were being chased.
And they wanted to lighten their load and,
That's right.
Skedaddle.
Yeah, yeah.
But were there any crashes?
Yeah, there was plane crashes, and there was a crash or like these bombs. Next day, we all got our bikes out. Dad did. He come home from work and get our bikes, and we kids, we'd all cycle off to see these plane crashes or the bombs, the big holes and that with the bombs. It was or pick up a bit of shrapnel.
Yeah. Well, you wanted,
for a souvenir.
But I think it's interesting because people often talk about London and the Blitz, and I know, some people I know said, well, actually, we had a great time, because it was dancing at night and going out.
Yeah, but we did up there. Penn went dead when the war went, and the troops all went back, and the evacuees went back. My best friends went back.
I was going to ask about evacuees. Did you get to know any?
Yeah, I kept in touch with them for years. Well, I think they're all dead and gone now. I kept in touch with them long after I was married.
Oh, right, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, it must have been weird for them to come in, because a lot of them were from London, weren't they?
Oh, yeah. Well, they were pleased to have friends. Yeah. Well, they were pleased to have friends down here. But the ones that I was friendly with, the whole family came, and Mrs. Rutter, where I used to work when I got old enough, she had a couple of cottages in the village, not far from us, only a few yards up the road sort of thing. And she let out those 2 cottages to the evacuees, and there was 2 families come there. And there was 5 children in one family there.
Wow.
So I got friendly with them because they were only a few yards up the road.
Right.
And, all through the war, we were good friends and kept friends afterwards.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
So you left Rutter's, Mrs. Rutter.
And
then you went to the
down near Sandbanks. Yeah. Well, Lilliput, between Sandbanks and Poole. It was. I don't think you know. Evening Hill's a beautiful place.
I don't, but
it was overlooking the sea. The house was.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and Poole Harbour.
Right.
You used to see the great battleships going by because it was the end of the end of the war, like, and seaplanes used to come in down there.
But amazing.
But you took it all for granted when you're a youngster.
Of course. But you think, another battleship,
I used to love getting about on the buses and everything.
What were you doing there? Were you in service in that
Well,
place?
I was a kitchen maid.
What does that mean?
Mine.
What does that mean? You were just sort of...
With a proper skivvy.
Yeah.
Doing all the vegetables and all the washing up and all that. But you see, I think I was a bit thick when I was young because you didn't go anywhere, you didn't learn anything outside the house. And Mum used to tell me about her service days, and she always made her service days sound so good.
Yes, so you've
I used to think, well, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Go into service. Now, my sister wouldn't go into service. She went in Wincanton Laundry and cycled backwards and forwards.
She was the one who only wanted butter and no margarine.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was going to do what Mum done, and she went as a kitchen maid and worked her way up as a cook. So I was going to do the same, but I never worked my way up to a cook because I was there for a 12-month or so, and then the housemaid upstairs, she left, and they wanted another housemaid, and the cook, I was working long hours, and she made some work with washing up and that, and the lady's maid sort of took a liking to me somehow, and that, and she asked the mistress of the house and that if I could go upstairs and take the housemaid's job. She asked me if I'd like to. Right. And I thought, Sarah's job's easier than mine, so I'll do that. So that's what I done. Right. But it weren't easier because, when you're a youngster, then marry this other person. She had me on the go, but different type of work.
Right.
But then they had a couple of Irish girls come over and one went in the kitchen. And then the other was in the pantry with the butler, parlour maid. And I got you got to know them but you didn't have a lot of time to spend with one another because you all had your jobs.
You're always on the go.
And the head ones made sure that they didn't sort of like you mixing that quick. But anyway, I kept in touch with them. Then I come home on holiday, and one of them went to London, and one went back to Ireland for a holiday and come back. And then she left and got another job, the one that was a kitchen maid. Then I was there 3 years, and then both of them decided they were going back to Ireland for a holiday. Right. And May said she wouldn't come back again. So they said, why don't you come with us? So instead of coming home, Mum didn't like it, to Penselwood. I decided to go to Ireland.
Really?
So I went off to Ireland then.
Adventure.
For a fortnight. And then when I come back, and it wasn't the same without them in the house, at any rate. Yeah. I give me notice. Yeah. And I decided to leave, so I was there about a month or so after. Come back home. The Cow and Gate was going then.
Ah,
and
right.
And they used to run a bus to Penselwood. So I went in to see if I could get a job, and I got a job just like that. And
how old were you, 17, 16?
I must have been 18 then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
was hard work, but at least you had your weekends free and you finished at 5:30. But you started at 7:30 in the morning, you clocked in.
Right.
You had to catch the bus at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And you didn't get back till 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
It was a long day.
And what were you doing?
Well, to start with, you were turning up tins, taking the lids off these empty tins, and then putting them on a conveyor belt for another couple of girls were putting the bags of powder in because there was a catcher, and that would catch the powder in a bag and pass it the next one. She fold it over and shove it into the tin.
So it was dried milk?
All dried milk, yeah.
Right, yeah. How long did you stay?
3 years, must have been. A friend of mine, because I used to, in the meantime, weekends, I met up with a boyfriend at the dances, and he was a cyclist, and I used to go off cycling Sundays with him all over the place.
Brilliant.
I had a lovely Hercules new bike that I bought, and I sold that because it was an upright one. I bought a racer, and used to go off cycling with him all over the place, and then that fizzled out with him, and my friend that worked in Wincanton in a garage, she and I palled up, and she used to come off cycling with me. But she didn't cycle, not the same. Right. But she met up with a lad at Blandford Camp in the army, because we used to all down around Blandford and
Right.
see the boys, you know, chasing the boys and that.
Excellent.
And she married and went to Hull, to Yorkshire. And of course I missed her then because the evacuees had all gone from Penn.
Yeah, all your mates
Penn was
had gone.
quiet, and then she'd gone as well. And like the factory girls, they come from Bruton and Carey and Templecoombe. They weren't from Penselwood. So it's only about one older woman from
But you were
Penselwood.
living in with mum, your mum.
Yeah, I was
in the
living
council
there.
house.
Yeah, I come back and lived. with
And,
the
and what
mums.
about the brothers? And were they?
Well, yeah, because they were only still at school.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. My second brother, I had one in the Air Force. One
Right.
2 years older than me, went in the Air Force. And then my second brother, he was 6 years younger than me, so he had just started work at Walton's over. He was carpenter.
Right.
Apprentice.
What
Because
do
they
you-
did apprentices, those, me brothers, all apprentices.
Oh, right. That's good.
Yeah.
That's very good.
One was a skilled fitter, and then the other one was a carpenter, and I don't know
I
what
got
France
it.
was. They built their own houses. Me brothers did.
They built the
My two younger brothers built their own houses.
really.
That one there, see that house over there under the flowers? My youngest brother built that one.
Oh gosh.
He
Blimey.
built that all himself.
No, that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, he's dead now. He died about a year ago.
Oh.
Yeah, he was younger than me.